Ubisoft is in an incredibly precarious position right now. Just looking at their stock price, you'll see that investor confidence is at an all-time low, with the stock price being the lowest we've seen it in company's history, or some of the lowest at least. And then beyond that, you've got the fact that just Ubisoft as a company and their product outputs have not been performing particularly well, with most of their biggest AAA releases kind of flopping or not meeting sales expectations. And that's on top of the fact that projects are not going particularly well. We're seeing a lot of projects get canceled or delayed. We're seeing mass layoffs happen. And just the management surrounding the company and its myriad projects is not something that inspires confidence. And so amidst all that, the last thing they needed is what happened recently, where a massive hack compromised Ubisoft in myriad, really just devastating ways. And so it all started with Rainbow Six Siege getting hacked. As Pirate Nation reports here, breaking: Ubisoft Rainbow Six Siege servers have been breached. Players are reporting massive amounts of Rainbow Six credits, renown, alpha packs, and exclusive items unexpectedly. So basically, Rainbow Six Siege's market, its monetization system, has been completely wrecked by essentially a massive handout of riches to individual Rainbow Six Siege players. This statement continues: numerous accounts, even Ubisoft, including streamers and possibly official ones, have received random or false bans, some later reversed. Ubisoft has not issued an official statement, but sources suggest servers are undergoing maintenance or restarts. This appears to be an active exploit or breach. Avoid logging in until confirmed safe by Ubisoft. And I mean, there's already footage showing what logging into Rainbow Six Siege looked like at the time of the hack, with folks posting footage like this showing, tons of messages highlighting bans. And I'm just noticing now that the first word of every one of these posts, if you look at them, it all actually starts to spell out sentences. And so clearly there's some trolling going on the part of the hackers. And beyond that, you've got messages like these that are making the rounds. Yves Guillemot was in the Epstein files, has been banned due to toxic behavior. We've got messages like these speaking directly to Ubisoft saying, "We're stopping this for now. Have a nice night, everyone at Ubisoft." Here's a screenshot of somebody from Reddit saying, "Pretty sure Ubisoft got breached," based on this whole fiasco right here. And reading the first words of these ban notifications, you get messages like, "What else are they hiding from us?" And yeah, this whole situation is going viral. So for example, the Exertos coverage of this has already garnered 7.7 million views and tens of thousands of likes. And that's just one post covering this whole situation. This is without question one of the worst hacks in gaming history. And the thing is, it doesn't stop at just Rainbow Six Siege. Ubisoft as a whole has been compromised by recent hacks. And I'll get to that in a bit, but focusing on the Rainbow Six Siege hack in particular, we did eventually get a response from the official Rainbow Six Siege Twitter account. And here's what they had to say when word began to spread about this whole hack situation. "We're aware of an incident currently affecting Rainbow Six Siege. Our teams are working on a resolution. We will share further updates once available." Wow. That is incredibly vague. Incident is a massive understatement, and the usage of that word and the diminishing of how major this issue is on the part of this statement is something that has not gone down well, with people making fun of the fact that they framed this whole situation as just an incident, with people laughing at the usage of that word or saying things like the entire game's backend being compromised is a bit more than just an incident. Now, while we're on the topic of compromises, if you're someone who travels a lot, one area you don't want to compromise in is in travel gear. Which brings us to the sponsor of today's video, Bellroy, makers of high quality and thoughtfully made travel accessories. What I've got for you right here are two of their flagship products: their Transit Carry-On Luggage Bag, as well as their Transit Travel Pack Pro Backpack. The carry-on comes in 4 color varieties, with mine being this nice shade of green called Everglade. It is perfectly sized for airline compliance domestically here in the US. It's got removable cells that can serve as dividers for better organization, and it's got tons of compartments to store all kinds of things for travel. The custom-designed telescopic handle is also really comfortable to deploy and hold. Its Hinamoto Lysoft Silent Run wheels ensure a very smooth and quiet roll, and the matte polycarbonate shell is strong, flexible, and highly durable. As for the backpack, it's incredibly versatile, with its ability to expand from a volume of 30 liters for a more everyday backpack experience to 38 liters for traveling, with suitcase-style full zip access that makes it really convenient for high-volume packing. There are tons of compartments and pockets in here as well to ensure that everything you bring with you has somewhere to go in. including a discrete RFID-protected pocket for sensitive items like passports and the like. The materials are top-notch and premium as well, with a focus on both durability and comfort, as well as being eco-friendly through recyclable materials. These are just two of the myriad products that Bellroy has on offer, and all of them are crafted with this high level of consideration and attention to detail. If you're in need of bags and accessories for travel and organization, Bellroy has got you covered. And you can get 10% off your order by using my link in the description and comment section below. Not long after, the Rainbow Six Siege official Twitter account retweeted their own post with an update that reads, "Siege and the marketplace have been intentionally shut down while the team focuses on resolving the issue." Again, very much underplaying all of this and not trying to inform the public of what exactly is going on, keeping everything vague. It's such a corporate move to try to protect themselves through vagueness rather than really inform customers exactly what's going on so they can be prepared for any potential breaches that may directly impact the players. And then a few hours later, the official Rainbow Six Siege Twitter page provided another update offering some assurances and, just kind of letting people know a little bit of what's going on right now, stating, quote, "Nobody will be banned for spending credits received. A rollback of all transactions that occurred since 11 a.m. is underway." So they're trying to reverse the damage that has been done to the Rainbow Six Siege market and the monetization. They're basically trying to revert the game state back to before the hack happened. The statement continues, "The ban ticker was turned off in a past update. Any messages seen were not triggered by us." And then finally, an official Rainbow Six Shield Guard ban wave did occur, but is not related to this incident. We're working very hard to make sure this is resolved and players can play again. But yeah, the basic summary of what happened with Rainbow Six Siege specifically can be summarized as follows. It's a situation where people got banned and unbanned. Thousands of people experienced this. The hackers took over the ban feed and they basically put anything through that. They gave everyone 2 billion credits and renown. The whole monetization system comes crumbling down when everyone has all the credits they need to never have to spend money on them. And so that's probably going to be Rainbow Six Siege's #1 priority fix. And then finally, gave everyone every skin, including developer skins. I imagine Ubisoft will be doing everything in their power to reverse all of this, and I imagine that is something that they're able to do, given that a lot of these live services do have backups and whatnot. But one genie that they cannot put back in the bottle is all of the leaks that Ubisoft is about to experience. Because it's not just that Rainbow Six Siege got targeted, hacked, and disrupted. It's the fact that that was actually a distraction hack that allowed other hackers to essentially extract terabytes worth of data that will involve leaks of source code of upcoming projects, so on and so forth, that will make it an extremely precarious situation for Ubisoft moving forward. As Puberty Hero reports, for example, hackers targeted Rainbow Six Siege by giving players billions of dollars worth of in-game currency, then used that as a distraction to steal the source code for almost every Ubisoft game ever made. Here's another report from Pirate Nation, who's been on top of this, saying Ubisoft has suffered a major breach. Hackers exfiltrated terabytes of internal source code repositories covering nearly all games, tools, SDKs, and services from the 1990s to current projects. The attack exploited a MongoDB vulnerability and coincided with the Rainbow Six Siege outage and database tampering on December 27th through 28th, 2025. No code has been publicly released yet, and Ubisoft has not officially confirmed the source code theft. Now, not long after, we had learned, to the surprise of nobody, that the hackers are essentially demanding a ransom, saying that if you don't give us a certain amount of money, then we will leak all the data that we have breached and extracted from your servers. We're going to leak everything to the world, and we're going to do all this damage if you don't give us the money that we demand. Now, what we'd learn is that according to sources, it wasn't just one hacker group that attacked Ubisoft. This whole situation seemingly involves a whopping 4 hacker groups. So right here we have, for example, VX Underground highlighting what they learned from what the word is right now on the streets, because Ubisoft refuses to be transparent. A lot of other folks have had to do research, and here's what they found. Quote, the first group of individuals exploited a Rainbow Six Siege service, allowing them to ban players, modify inventory, etc. These individuals, these hackers, did not touch user data, unsure if they even could. They gifted roughly, $339,960 billion worth of in-game currency to players. Ubisoft will perform a rollback to undo the damages. They're probably annoyed. I cannot go into full details at this time how this was achieved. A second group of individuals, unrelated to the first group of individuals, exploited a MongoDB instance from Ubisoft using Mongo Bleed, which allowed them in some capacity to pivot to an internal Git repository. They exfiltrated a large portion of Ubisoft's internal source code. They assert it is data from the 90s to the present, including software development kits, multiplayer services, etc. I have medium to high confidence this is true. I've confirmed this with multiple parties. Then you've got the third group that came in. These are a group of individuals who claim to have compromised Ubisoft and exfiltrated user data by exploiting MongoDB via Mongo Bleed. This group is trying to extort Ubisoft. They have a name for their extortion group and are active on Telegram. However, I have been unable to determine the validity of their claims. Which finally brings us to the fourth group of individuals who assert the second group of individuals are lying and state the second group has had access to the Ubisoft internal source code for a while. However, they state the second group is trying to hide behind the first group to masquerade as them, give them a reason to leak the source code in totality. The first group and fourth group is frustrated by this. So yeah, we're looking at a situation where multiple hacker groups happen to kind of intersect and target the same company all at once. And apparently there's some behind the scenes drama surrounding some of these groups, I guess. And so now there are questions surrounding whether the second group will leak the source code. Is the second group telling the truth? Did the second group lie and have access to Ubisoft code this whole time? Was it Mongo Bleed? Will the first group get pinned for this? Who is this mysterious third group? Is this group related to any of the other groups? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. And then here we have another summary by Zephyrus, who relates similar information, like some of the nuanced details differ a little bit. And the thing is, this is all still a developing situation. So, exactly where the truth lies is something we'll definitely find out over the course of the next few days and weeks. But, right now I'm presenting what's out there right now. What's the word on the internet, if you will, based on people claiming they have sources who know exactly what happened. So Zephyrus states the following in regards to 4 different groups who hacked Ubisoft. Quote, the first group accessed user accounts and granted all players with Rainbow Six accounts roughly $13 million in in-game currency. Ubisoft is reportedly planning to reverse this. The second group accessed the servers and game code, banning as many players as possible. The third group claimed they had stolen all information from Ubisoft clients and other internal data, threatening to release it if Ubisoft did not pay a ransom. However, Ubisoft sources confirmed that hackers did not gain access to customers' personal data such as passwords or bank details. Right now, the consensus seems to be that when it comes to players' data, their credit card numbers, their personal information, that's information that is, as of what we know right now, safe. But I'll keep an eye out on this whole situation. So in case it turns out that, user data did leak, that is information that is related to audiences so that they can be proactive about, taking measures for their own safety and security. The fourth group claims to have accessed Ubisoft source code and parts of its multiplayer games for a brief period, just long enough to obtain sensitive information. This claim has not yet been confirmed. Hackers reportedly confirmed they had a 2-hour backup file before the attack, meaning everything will be reverted to its state from 2 hours prior. So basically, to fix the chaos of Rainbow Six Siege right now, Ubisoft's plan is that once they've sealed all of the holes that have allowed hackers to, breach Ubisoft, they will revert Rainbow Six Siege back to the state that it was 2 hours prior to the hack, and that should ultimately resolve all the Rainbow Six Siege issues, assuming that process goes smoothly. But right now, everything's still up in the air, and we don't know definitively how things are going to pan out. But yeah, multiple reports are suggesting that the Rainbow Six hack was allegedly used as a Trojan horse, serving as a distraction while the attackers attempted to access servers and steal source code from several games, an endeavor that seemingly has been successful. And finally, the alleged hacker group responsible is demanding on Telegram that if Ubisoft does not contact them with a business proposal in the immediate future, they will choose which classified information to leak to the public. This, in many ways, reminds me of that massive hack that happened with Insomniac that, resulted ultimately in all of their data and future projects and plans getting leaked because Sony and Insomniac ultimately decided that they would not capitulate to the demands and to the ransom. And this is something that's happened to multiple studios as well. CD Projekt at one point experienced a massive hack, and that's just to name a few. But when it comes to Ubisoft here, it is definitely among the more severe cases of this kind of situation we have seen based on what reports are saying right now. As for what the general feeling around the internet is, there are those who are acknowledging that, this will directly impact a lot of developers who are not in leadership position, who are there to just do their work. And so, there's a lot of sympathy for folks who are not executives and, the corporate heads, but rather the artists and the people who are on the ground floor making these games and are doing the best they can under the situations and circumstances that are given to them by leadership. But in terms of Ubisoft, the company as a whole, Ubisoft, the corporation, and Ubisoft, the leadership, that's an area where we're not seeing a lot of sympathy, with people saying things like Ubisoft just learned how to be comfortable not owning their games, referencing the fact that one of the Ubisoft executives straight up said that people should just get used to the fact that they don't own their games. They should get used to not owning their games, in reference to how everything was going a lot more digital and video game ownership and ownership of media is becoming, just kind of less of a priority. And so there's people hitting back at Ubisoft for saying that, or, specifically Ubisoft executives. And scrolling down, you just find people who are not particularly sympathetic for Ubisoft because of the practices that Ubisoft has engaged in. And so some people see it as like karma specifically for the corporation and the executives. But at the same time, all this happening during the holidays means that, there will be a lot of developers who will have to come into the office during the holiday period, spend time away from family and home to essentially put out this massive fire. And I do feel bad for those folks. And on the player side of things, these kinds of breaches and hacks is incredibly unsafe, and it could potentially lead to leaks of information that's very sensitive for each individual. Currently, reports suggest that things like debit and credit card information and financial information and all that stuff has not been leaked and has not been compromised. But, who knows? Well, we're going to learn more over the next few days. And that could have been a possible outcome as well. Even if that didn't happen with this specific hack, it doesn't mean that it's impossible for something like that to happen. So, as little sympathy as people have for Ubisoft as a corporation, the impact that this kind of breach and hack has, is pretty widespread. And, a lot of, innocent people get caught in the crossfire. So it's not necessarily something that ultimately yields a net positive. These are not hackers who are fighting the good cause. These are hackers who are stealing other people's property so they can demand a ransom, so they can make money. That's really what this whole situation comes down to. But there you have it, folks. That's the current situation with Ubisoft and the hack that has not only shaken Rainbow Six Siege, this one game that has been a massive, cash cow for Ubisoft, but it may potentially impact just Ubisoft as a whole, given how massive the breach was and how much data they managed to extract from Ubisoft servers. And, eventually, if Ubisoft doesn't capitulate to ransoms and demands, that stuff will eventually come out and it will get leaked. And it might ruin, some upcoming surprises that Ubisoft wanted to keep at bay. It might lead to source code leaks that might compromise, existing games and projects, and that might make it, just kind of unsafe for certain games, especially those that are live services and involve a lot of online interaction. I'll definitely keep an eye out on this whole situation and keep reporting on it as major new developments occur. In the meantime, though, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on this whole situation. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.